My name is Caroline Poynton. I'm recording this off YouTube today because I'm not copyrighting YouTube, I'm paying attention. And these are just
First,
always
again,
trying
just
to
says they should take our
smear
pension
Rupert
out
Low,
of
and
our
they've
state
got
pension because
told
there's
today
nothing
on
to
this
do
one.
with.
I don't think they realise they're going to get told because I just watched one and they smeared Rupert Low to death. How dare talk to you?
School commentator on broadcasting. Good morning, Charlie.
I am
Good
not
morning,
for
Mark.
out
Gosh, you
talking
make
to
me
me.
so say talk star as well.
Wait.
That's very kind.
And you're back on air. You're hosting, I believe, is it tomorrow?
It is, yes, Monday, 7 till 10 p.m, standing in for Peter Cardwell, who I'm sure is going to be sunning himself still somewhere on this beautiful weather that we've been having.
Peter's getting plastic surgery.
A nip and tuck.
Yeah, he's got good genetics. The issue is the bum.
Well,
That's the weak spot.
Yeah.
And
I'll take your
it's
word.
basically it's a reconstruct. It's a lift, obviously. It's a lift. We're all aware of the SAG in the office. It's been noted. HR are across it actually. This is a lift, but it's also it's going to have to shift slightly left as well. It's a long story. The brilliant piece of back very soon. But listen, it's great to see you. And it's a bank holiday weekend, which is why I also think we should just have some fun time.
I think so.
You know, it's been a hard year for everyone, hasn't it? And this weekend, the sun is out
Shit.
across the country, by the way, because you have to be very careful if you're in the southeast going, isn't it a beautiful day? And it's like raining in Aberdeen. the forecast is good for the whole country, and it looks like it's going to be sustained. And all the papers, 30 degrees. We've not had any sort of like seriously bleak weather warnings yet. I'm not sure we need them, do we?
I don't think so. I think we are very good at complaining about the weather, us Brits, when it's cold, when it's rainy,
And when it's hot.
but also when it's too hot, we complain. But we're not quite there yet, I don't think.
No, I don't think we are. I think that we all welcome the warm weather, and I think we welcome, by the way, some very big political stories. I mean, so much to go at this morning. The right are very split. We'll come to that in just a moment. Could Rupert Low and Restore keep Farage from winning that particular seat in Makerfield? But let's start, if we can, with The Express, who I've got to say have had a very good couple of days politically with, I think, the big stories of each day, respectively. We will act tax on overtime. Reform backs hard-working Brits with pay bonus pledge. Now, this is very interesting. Nigel Farage, if he becomes Prime Minister, wants to scrap income tax on all overtime for anyone with an income of up to £75,000 a year. This is a significant move, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
He's
then
sending
we'll get
a very
criticised
clear
of
message that
Labour, so we're
reform
gonna
of
pay
the
for it.
party for working people. And it goes back to that age-old narrative that you should keep what you earn, or keep more of what you earn, at least.
Yeah.
At the very least. And so if you are someone that is working however many jobs, day in, day out, working however many hours, day in, day out, but you are working overtime because you want to work more hours in order to make ends meet during the cost of living crisis, the idea that some of those hours, or pay on the back of those hours, goes to the Treasury and not in your back pocket, I think a lot of people will welcome the fact that all the overtime that you earn will be tax avoidable. So you can keep it.
You're so right. I mean, one of the examples would be a nurse that puts in overtime, which, by the way, we would welcome because the NHS needs nurses to put extra hours in order to catch up with the backlog. So we welcome nurses putting in overtime. It's my understanding that if you're a nurse in the NHS and you want extra hours, the hours are yours. And the biggest challenge for managers is actually just to fill all the roles 24/7. So the overtime is available to nurses. If they take it, under these plans for Farage, the average amount of overtime a nurse would be expected to work will save £1,000 in a year. That's a lot of money.
A lot of money, of course, and for someone that is working, particularly in the NHS, they are at the coalface of, seeing people day in, day out where, wards are overflowing, where the waiting lists are still high. They're not coming down necessarily because they're seeing less patients. They're coming down because people are still on the waiting list who have either sadly passed away, or people that have then had their appointment, they've come and gone, but there's the processing of it means that they're still on the list. There's been an admin task to get those people off the waiting list. So the idea that when what used to be the former Health Secretary Wes Streeting saying waiting lists have come down, they've only come down because actually they've cleaned up the admin. It's not the amount of patients.
They've come down because he bought a job lot of Tipex.
Yes.
Do you remember? Do they still have Tipex? Do you remember Tipex?
I do.
Yeah.
I didn't have
And
to
we
use
still
it
do
very
have
often.
to-
Dave sniffs it. Dave sniffs it, which Dave, that's the wrong thing to do. We're drug-free here on Talk Breakfast. It's Dave focused. He uses it on his screen all the time. Someone showing the delete button, for goodness sakes. Tipex was this white paint that if you made a mistake in your exams, you could paint over it, couldn't you? It was quite the thing. It was all the rage when I was a kid.
It was. And they were, yes, it used to be a little brush, wasn't it, in a pot?
That's exactly right.
But then it became a pen.
Oh yes, it was technology. Technology's improved, but that's the equivalent. He's effectively sort of, as you say, just deleted those waiting lists. It's not quite the same as tackling them, but the issue we've got now is a very interesting policy from Farage. It will cost $5 billion. We'll come to the costing in a moment, but I think that it's a cultural change too, because this is a reward for hard work rather than what we currently have, which is an effective punishment.
Well, especially when you hear today, know the figures that actually could earn more on benefits than actually being in work. And where more and more people are signing on through things like, mild anxiety, something that Nigel Farage again has talked about extensively, where he sort of says he wakes up every morning with mild anxiety. I'm sure a lot of us do. I'm sure leaders and politicians do. But they don't then go and sign up to the DWP and claim benefits. So I think it's a real example of making sure that just going to work pays. It's important to go to work. It's a benefit of just working, not in terms of just health, in terms of social setting, in terms of interacting with people, in terms of being productive, in terms of being ambitious, in terms of having goals in life. There are so many health benefits to being in work rather than just receiving benefit from the state. So if you are going above and beyond to work extra hours, to make ends meet, to deal with the cost of living crisis in your own household, I think it's a brilliant idea that those people who are working those extra hours should keep every penny that they earn.
Most definitely. Let me know if you still feel that it pays to work hard in modern Britain. When I speak to a lot of people on this show and as I go about my daily life, there are many people that say to me that it's only when they go into the overtime that they're really in profit. It's if they work extra hours that's when they can have some savings and put something away for a rainy day or for a holiday or to pay for their car and that sort of thing. That actually overtime is not an option now for millions of people. It's an essential part of their finances.
And that's a travesty really, because look, on the back of COVID, where the whole country was locked down, where actually we had to restructure the economy, through the furlough scheme, we should be, on the back of COVID, making sure that the economy works for everybody. It should be a whole new way of thinking, but there should be this impetus to want to get back to work. It shouldn't just be okay to just work from home or to not work at all or rely on the state, because you might have relied on the state previously during a health pandemic. You've got to rethink how we do things, and I think going to work and making work pay, but making work pay is the essential part of that, and working overtime, as many people do, I think will welcome this announcement.
Well, I would welcome it. I think the biggest thing is the cultural shift where you feel rewarded for working harder rather than clobbered, and I think that's key, and that's going to be the topic of a special Dolan's Dispatch at 9 a.m. Let's take a listen to the voice figures. This is Peter.
And Mark,
Absolutely
this
anything.
amount of families that are better off not working than actually working.
Oh yeah.
This whole sum needs to be broken down, doesn't it? Because when they give you that welfare figure, that includes our state pension as well, which is not a benefit. And on top of that, what about all these families now where if you've got more than one wife, you get an extra £125 a week?
Yeah.
Now, if a man comes over here, different religion and has 4 wives, and each wife has 6 children, that's an awful lot of benefit money going out there, isn't it? So this needs to be broken down into different groups who are receiving this money, rather than people blaming British people who maybe can't get a job, or the youngsters that can't get a job due to Labour's national insurance imposement on employees. It's just easy to put a blanket blame on this, isn't it, about this welfare bill. But, first, again, as I said, they should take our pension out of it, our state pension, because that's nothing to do with a benefit, is it really?
Very good voice note to kick off the show. Thank you for that. Now, look, folks, the race for Makerfield is hotting up with barely a cigarette paper between Reform UK and Labour. But with the votes on the right now split, could Rupert Low's Restore gift a seat to the House of Commons to Andy Burnham? We'll talk about the right being very split next. 6:32, this is Talk Breakfast. 6:33, Talk Breakfast, lovely to have your company. What are you up to this bank holiday weekend? And do let me know, I'll get to your messages shortly. Well, what about this? The race for Makerfield is hotting up. But there's a big problem for Nigel Farage and Reform UK, and it comes in the form of Rupert Low and Restore, which is another party on the right. And if you look at the first poll in regard to Makerfield, it appears that Restore support dilutes that of Reform UK, and it gifts a seat in the House of Commons to Andy Burnham. So do the right need to unite? Here's a voice note from Big Nick.
Nigel Farage, we don't. Nigel Farage leaving, yeah.
Here it is.
If Nigel Farage has left Reform, then yes,
we
mate.
see egos get in the way. Rupert Low's ego comes before the country, so it would seem.
No, it
Not
doesn't.
only will splitting the right in Makerfield hand the constituency to Andy Burnham, but in so doing, it's likely to hand the keys to number 10 to Labour.
No, it's likely to hand it to fucking Rupert Low, that's what I don't want to know.
As the
I don't want
pollsters are now
to
saying, it's time that the
It's
right
too hard to
united.
say it.
Unless they do, this country is lost for another electoral term.
No, we
Have a good
haven't.
weekend, Mark.
We're winning.
Nick, I agree with you. It's not a fashionable view
I don't agree
to say
with you,
that
mate.
the
I don't
right
agree with
should
any of you.
unite, because you've got your
Well,
Restore
Ross,
supporters who
Restore
are very
Britain's gonna win.
passionate, and I understand why, because Rupert Low is a very impressive and authentic man. And then you've got your Reform folk who want nothing to do with Restore. But it's quite clear that they cancel each other out. And it's interesting because I think there's more animosity between Reform
I'm
and
not
Restore
cancelling
than
Reform.
there is,
I'm
Charlie
cancelling Nigel
Rowley,
Farage.
between Reform and the Conservatives. I think it's actually a worse relationship, Nigel and Rupert.
I think you're absolutely right, and that's because I think Rupert Lowe, who leads Restore, was a former Reform
And he was the
MP,
best one, yeah.
and they've obviously had a bit of a falling out.
And Nigel Farage
and
lied.
Rupert, who is a very successful businessman, was the former chairman of Southampton Football Club, so he's been around a bit in other guises.
And of course,
Yeah,
he's a
and
farmer as well.
Farmer,
Rupert
absolutely,
Low's a
and
farmer,
you know,
he's a
set
better
up,
person than
obviously, the
Nigel
party
Farage.
wants
He did the
to
inquiry.
have a vision that he's taking to the country, which he thinks is obviously very different, or
Which
different
Nigel
enough
Farage hasn't done.
to reform.
He hasn't
having left
got
it, and
Dodgy
wants to
back
pitch
deal
that
in
to
a
the
back
nation.
street.
I think
fucking
it's-
dodgy name or
I think it's very
something.
sad because just looking at that graphic
Like
there,
Nigel Farage,
you know, that was on screen. I mean, Restore were third. They were polling above the Liberal Democrats, which you know should be
I think there was
they
nothing
are
to
the
hide
third
about.
major
Why didn't
party
you just declare it in the first place?
the UK today in
Yeah.
terms of the number of
Why didn't you
MPs.
just declare it?
They've got about 70 MPs.
the
I think people
public.
forget that.
Declare
So
it.
they're not
And
to
then
be
if
sort of
you
just
then
dismissed, even though they might
nothing to
not
hide.
capture
So
the headlines
obviously
compared to
he's
Reform,
hiding
who
something
might have a handful of MPs, but are leading the polls. So I think it really is a serious
Well, yeah, it is
matter
serious,
because this
yeah.
is a by-election like no other. And I'm
And they just
actually with
going
you
on
and that
blaming
voice now. I think
Restore
this should
Britain.
be a binary
I think
choice. It's
fucking
either you vote Labour to have
Nigel
Burnham,
Farage needs
who
to
then
step
goes
back.
on to become
And
the
fully
leader of the
do it.
Labour Party and the Prime Minister.
With a more left-wing agenda.
With a more left-wing agenda, or you don't, and you vote against that by voting for whoever the most likely opposition party is.
Restore
And in this
Britain.
case, in this by-election, it's Reform that came second at the last general election. They are the ones that are most likely to either win if it's not Labour. And I would be making that same case if it was any other constituency and if there was any other party that was the runner-up in that regard. So if it was
why are you doing that,
between
mate?
Labour and the
Pick
Greens,
for who?
I
No,
would be
you're talking
suggesting that actually
No,
maybe the
mate.
Greens
Talking
should win. Or if
bullshit
it was
there, mate.
between the
You
Conservatives
pick who
and
you think's going to do the best job.
the Lib Dems. Well, you decide who you
Not
want
who
out
you
of those
think's
two.
gonna win.
But if it's not the Conservatives, then you would be voting Lib Democrats. I wouldn't be expecting a handful of other parties to put their name forward because it will just split the vote. This is not I don't think this is a by-election where people should be throwing out policy ideas, you know, and saying, vote for this party because we're very different to Reform here, or we've got something slightly different. I know the electorate can make up their own mind. I know the British public won't be taken for fools. But I think the more easier it is to say, "Ooh, well, if I don't like reform, and I certainly don't like Labour, I'll just vote for one of the others." Well, that gives people a choice or a bit of an opt-out, really. It's a bit like the referendum that we had 10 years ago. I might have been considered a reluctant Remainer, but I still had to vote Remain. I didn't have a box that said, well, actually, no, I'm only Remain if we get this particular deal, or if we actually throw out Margaret Thatcher's handbag around a bit more and actually got a deal from the EU that's acceptable. You couldn't vote for those options. And I think this is such a binary choice. You either have Burnham that becomes PM, or you vote against it.
Well, definitely, and I think we're in a crazy scenario, folks, where we're better off with Starmer, and I say that in the full view that he's the worst Prime Minister in decades, but I do think Andy Burnham will have a more left-wing agenda. He'll be supported by the unions, by left-wing backbenchers, and by the left-wing grassroots of the Labour movement, and I think you'll have higher taxes, more borrowing, more spending, and I think it's a big problem for the country. Let's take another voice note on the right being split. This is Kev.
Morning, Mark. I wasn't expecting you to be on today. I hope you're well. The question about could the right-wing vote split each other? I don't think so.
No.
Right-wingers tend to have common sense. And anyone with common sense is going to vote for the party with the best chance of winning. You'd be stupid not to, really, wouldn't you, Mark? Anyway, speak to you later, mate. Have a good day.
Well, let's hope that they have common sense, because that's going to be necessary. Meanwhile, then on Sunday, we've got two stories in relation to the Farage donation of billionaire £5 million to Nigel before he became leader of Reform UK, Charlie. New political bombshell. My phone was hacked by Moscow, says Farage. Deeply concerned Reform leader claims Russian spies leaked details of a £5 million gift that could lead to a ban from the House of Commons. Meanwhile, on the same story, the Sunday Mirror, Reform cash exclusive. Farage is having us on as we pay our taxes. Reform's coffers boosted by £15 million from rich pals and firms abroad, all linked to offshore havens. Do you think this story of the £5 million donation is going to dog Farage for the foreseeable future?
Yes.
I don't think so, but I might be completely out of touch. There might be people absolutely tearing their hair out thinking, how on earth has someone who, I think is based in Thailand, give £5 million to anybody,
that was
get away with it, where it wasn't declared, and where, there doesn't seem to be an answer.
That's why Elon Musk didn't give him any money, because he's already had a dodgy deal.
To him, before he became an MP, so before he even stood for Parliament, for security reasons, to fund his personal security, where obviously he was getting a lot of flack and where he wasn't granted police protection by the state. So that's where he says the money's gone. The Parliamentary Standards Authority are looking into it, so they'll have to conclude one way or another whether he declared it, or whether he should declare it or not, and whether he will have to then make an apology or not.
I know I'll make an apology, mate. You can go, fucking.
I think we're in such a state of the country where there are so many problems. I think it's sort of Trumpian in a way that actually this is the least of the problems that we have in our country in terms of far bigger things that the country should be talking about rather than did a political party or a person get a donation when they weren't an MP. It's not clear cut, so I don't think it's as big as maybe what some publications are trying to make out.
You are so right. It's actually much more important when we talk about the economy, about inflation, about the borders, about energy supply, about law and order. This is actually what matters, which is why I think the Sunday Express story is fascinating. We will axe tax on overtime. Dean, I think we should take a call on this, because I think it's a really interesting development here. Reform backs hard-working Brits with pay bonus pledge. So Nigel Farage last night made a bold bid for the support of working Britons with a promise to scrap tax on overtime.
I mean, it sounds really good. It does sound good what he's going to be doing there. I mean, that's what Rupert Low
and have
probably
worked
do.
a 40-hour week will not pay tax on further hours worked under his plans for power. The Reform UK leader unveiled the pledge with the claim that Labour is no longer the party of the patriotic working class. Now that is politically significant. Farage thinks that Reform can be the party of working people. Do you think that's possible, Charlie?
I do, yeah, because I think
I just don't think it's enough.
With
That's
all
not
of their
farming.
policies that they're coming forward with whatever with their strategy, it relates to fairness. So it's making sure what is fair in this country. It is making sure that you keep what you earn, and this is part of that. But it's making sure that your taxpayers' money goes on to public services that you can use as a British taxpayer. It's not. It goes to the NHS, but it doesn't fund international health service. It funds your national health service. It's making sure that your money can actually go to maybe veterans who are sleeping rough. And the homeless and need a roof over their head, not migrants that come into the country illegally that get put up in hotels or are now going to go into HMOs so they're going to be amongst the community rather than in hotels or any other place that we know where they are. It's about making sure that you can detain and deport people who shouldn't be in the country in the first place. It's having a proper justice and police system that represents everybody, not just panders to the left or right politically. Because of campaign and activist groups. It's just all about fairness, and this policy, I think, really plays into, as you say, that the working people.
Well, that's it. We've got a voice note on this from Steve. Listen to Steve, what he has to say.
Hey guys, Steve here, currently on the M25. So yeah, I welcome what Rafaj is trying to do with the old tax thing. I think that's a bloody good idea. I work between 65 and 70 hours a week driving my truck. So that would be a good thing for me. And as an armed forces veteran, spent 22 years in the Royal Marines.
You'll get more out of Rupert Low.
I'm
We get
living
our
in
funds back,
Scotland.
mate. That's what we get back. And then we're getting tax money sorted and everything else.
Taxed at 42%.
I was going to say that everything else comes along after that.
The SNP don't like you earning too much money as the rate is. I think it's 43,000 before you start paying the higher rate of tax. So yeah, Farage's ideas are good. Let's hope we can bring them into fruition. Take care, guys. Great show. Cheers.
Steve, thank you for that. There you go, Charlie. Steve is working 65 to 70 hours a week, and I think it's actually criminal that he should pay tax on that overtime because he's breaking his back in his truck, in his van, with those extra hours. He's very happy about that. He wants it to pay to work, and I think that this is going to go down very well with the public.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. And someone who has served in the military as well, someone that is the embodiment of wanting to serve your country, who gets up in the morning, make a contribution, make this country as great as it can be, having defended it in the past. You know, that is absolutely the embodiment of what this country should be about, the patriotism, making
but you're blaming Rupert Low, and that's what it's not about,
we seem to be going backwards because of high taxes, because of regulation within business,
I get that,
taxes within business, an increase in national insurance contributions, an increase in business rates, all things that strangle opportunity and growth to generate that cash that can go into the treasury coffers that funds public services and support all of us on a rainy day. All of that is choked off because of decisions that this government, I'm afraid, are making. So, anything that can be done to help people who want to just get away from the politics and get away from all the negativity by working for extra hours, earning more and keeping that money. I mean, it's all right by me.
Amen to that. Well, Steve, thank you for your voice note, and as Charlie rightly said, we salute you and we thank you for your service to this country in the military, and actually we thank you for your hard work now, because what the government should be doing is love bombing people that work hard. Because what Steve and millions of others are doing, a big chunk of whom watch and listen to this show are doing, is contributing to national income. This is the channel for Alarm Clock Britain. People put more in than they take out. Is Reform UK now the party of working people? Your calls next. Is Reform UK now the party of working people? David is in Gloucestershire. Good morning, David.
Being part of working people because they're lying now, trying to take me Labour.
Very well, great to have you on board. The issue we've got at the heart of this, David, is the cult of welfareism, don't you think?
Oh, it's dreadful. I mean, it's, as you rang in about, was like, that poor chap that was driving the lorry, he was saying his pension is taxed at 42%. It's disgraceful.
Well, it is. It shouldn't be taxed at all. It's a pension.
I know, but I respect the fact.
But if you're going to tax pensions like that, then tax benefits, basically. And I actually, no household should ever earn in benefits more than they could earn by its job. And there should be a maximum cap to any household. You know, and I'm sure there's a way of doing it. And I'm sure there are people with, you know, I'm disabled myself, but there are people with specialist medical needs, but they can for extension on that if they have got specialist medical needs that they need that extra money. But anybody who's just on the general benefits should never be able to claim more than the minimum wage would ever pay.
Well, I agree with you. Now, David, it's my understanding that you are registered blind. Is that correct?
That is correct, yes.
And therefore, you are a worthy recipient of state support because you do not have sight. And I can guarantee you there is not a single listener or viewer to this show that would object to paying their taxes so you can be supported in your life, because there are many forms of work you can't do because you are registered blind. How does it therefore make you feel, David, that there are folk receiving benefits because of anxiety or ADHD or they're having a tough day?
Well, it makes me sick, to be quite honest with you, Mark. I mean, I used to work, I was a working man. I used to work all the hours that God sends, and I'd had people say to me, oh, you've got a bit of autism or you've got a bit of ADHD. I was definitely dyslexic, and I struggled with work at times, but what did I have to do? I had to work harder. And I knew that, in my career, I missed out on a lot of opportunities at work because I wasn't prepared to do that. I wasn't prepared to sit in an office and do the paperwork and that side of things. So I just had to work harder and that,
Well, David, I mean, you've raised a brilliant point. The line is not fantastic, but we will catch up with you soon. David in Gloucestershire there, who argues that there is no household that should receive more benefits than they could by working,
level 1 and level
That's
2 English.
common sense.
If it wasn't for
common
the
sense,
colleges,
and he's absolutely right. And there seems to be, we talk about two-tier Britain, two-tier justice and two-tier policing, but there seems to be a two-tier mentality in this country about people who would do exactly as Steve has done, work all the hours that God sends, 2 or 3 jobs perhaps, focusing on the jobs that he can do rather than the focus of what he might not be able to do because of a lack of sight. So he's working, as he said, I have to work even harder. And that's a mentality that some Brits have. I think a lot of Brits have. I'd like to think the majority of Brits have. They say, look, when times are tough, we've got to work harder. And we go and find the jobs, and we are entrepreneurial, we're innovative, we find the work because we need to work, because we don't want to rely on the state unnecessarily. So, but there is another group of people who feel as though that's actually, instead of a last resort, it's the first port of call. They'll say, I can't do this, so therefore I won't do anything else, and I'll just claim benefits.
There's a big problem though, Charlie. The elephant in the room. There is a democratic dividend in relation to the cult of welfareism, because if millions of people are on benefits, they will vote for the parties that provide them. And if, for example, Farage says he's going to cut the size of the welfare state massively, he's going to lose a lot of votes, and that's one of the big problems with introducing change in this country.
Well, that is a problem. You're absolutely right. If there are more people who are claiming benefits than rather than seeking work, then you're right. It becomes I'm afraid, an addiction actually to the state. Any kind of state support, whether it's an addiction to going to see the NHS when you might not necessarily need to, when you can actually, eat more healthy, do more exercise, whatever it is, rather than go to see a GP for whatever it is, unnecessarily so. And the same with benefits. If you think you can just get a handout, then you'll just take the handout. But I like to think that the overwhowning majority of people in this country will think, no, it's better to work, we should make work pay, we shouldn't have people on benefits claiming benefits for anxiety, more mild anxiety, or things that actually we all suffer from. Let's get back to basics. Let's get this country back on track, cut the welfare bill, make work pay, and let's turbocharge the UK economy to the heights
maybe that might help you to get out of the house a bit.
People often say, you have these debates on TV, what is Britishness? I remember about a year ago, Robert Jenrick was asked, what is Britishness? And it was a bit of a gotcha question from someone on a rival network. I think it's an easy question to answer. What is Britishness? It's having a pint, it's fair play, it's good humour, it's open-minded, it's tolerant,
There isn't a job
it's about
in
working
Bury.
hard.
I don't
That's
try
why
if I'm
we have,
not prepared
up
to
until
put
this
my
point, been one of the
life
great
at
nations
risk to
of
get
history.
public
Although I fear
transport.
we're in decline.
So if I
Lenny's
get
in
a
Ashford.
job,
Good
I
morning,
need to
Lenny.
be in a walking
Morning,
distance.
Mark.
How are things
And there isn't
with you
any.
on this
In the
sunny
work,
morning in Ashford?
kind of work I
Well,
do.
I've got health issues and I can't go out. So I'm confined to my house at the moment. So
Well, I confine myself to the house because I don't feel safe going out as a woman on my own.
So the hot weather is a challenge
I
for
don't
you
feel like I'm
health-wise, is that right, Lily?
anymore to even sit in my garden because the knees
Well, listen, I
the
wish
knees
you well. I
just
think you're going to
stare
have
at
to
me.
survive the next
Because not
week
many
or
of them
so.
speak much English.
I know.
I'm not even able to.
I count my blessings and go with
I
the
don't
flow,
want to
mate.
walk to the park
Good
and
man,
sit in
good
the
man for
park.
that attitude. I mean, Andy
Too scared
Burnham,
in case
it looks like he's probably going to win this by-election and become Prime Minister. What do you think of that?
Well, I think we should remember the wise words of Ronald Reagan.
And then social pedo services have got my little girl and then they want me to go to work after them telling me I'm an unfit mother. If I am an unfit mother to look after my little girl, then I am unfit then to go to work.
As you said earlier, the left are going to want
if they want me to go to work, like I've told them, then I tell you what, I'll have a massive problem with pedo services in this country. They better go and get my little girl back to her.
Well, I think it's a real worry, isn't it? Because what's going to happen, Lenny, the country is going to shift to the left. And that will involve more debt, more tax, and more spending. Something the country can ill afford, Lenny.
And I don't get any money. I get job seekers allowance and cut me other benefit off.
Frightening. And so, and I think we've only had a sample of the Labour left in our politics.
And I have tried in my life.
We're going to get
I haven't had a life, but I have tried in some ways. I have had some jobs and bits. Not many.
If he is elected, and it's something the electorate should take into account.
But it's hard when I'm going to
Lenny,
the yard.
brilliant call, and I wish you well persevering through this hot weather. Lenny there with a view that Burnham's ideas for the UK, should he become Prime Minister, are frightening, Charlie. Is that an overstatement?
That's what needs to be done for people.
I don't think it is, no, because he said in the past that he wants to take the UK back into the European Union in his lifetime. What better time to do that if you then become leader of the Labour Party? It's not as if he's going to say, as he's now tried to backtrack from those comments, obviously because I think the constituency that he's now fighting for voted overwhelmingly to leave the EU, and in the last local elections, overwhelmingly voted for reform, who obviously don't want to take us back into the EU at all. So he's had to walk away and walk back from some of the comments that he's made in the past. But I don't think it's an overstatement at all. I think we don't know entirely what Andy Burnham stands for, because Andy Burnham has been a Blairite, a Brownite, a Corbynite, a Starmerite, and he's been the chameleon of the Labour Party to be able to ship-shape through all of those leaders. And yet, we don't know exactly what it stands for, apart from appealing to the left of the party. That's what he truly believes. That's why those comments that he made about the EU were so open at Labour Party conference.
Oh, boy, man.
Welcome back. Robert Jenrick, Reform UK's Treasury spokesman, joins me now in the studio. Hello, lovely to see you this morning. Right, so you've got quite an interesting and innovative policy here, which I haven't seen tabled before.
Why do you think Nigel Farage has proposed this policy of scrapping tax on overtime? What's behind this? What are the politics of this?
I assume it's because he wants to consolidate his position as the party of the working person. So he has made it very, very clear that working people feel let down.
We're going to bring a lot of light and shade, facts and fun. We're going to scramble it up like a good old morning egg.
You just try and stop us.
You just try and stop us. Right, okay, here we go. Where do we begin? Let's talk about the new Makerfield poll.
Yay!
So there has been a poll which...
watch this, it's a bit...
It's not a small sample size,
Look,
it's about
Rupert
350
Low
odd. But what this poll's done been done by
Let's try and stick up
what
an
the
idea
poll
for that.
seems to suggest is that Andy Burnham is potentially going to take that seat. There we go. There is poll as
being spoken about on the screen. I haven't got my glasses on, so I can't actually read it myself. But it looks as though Andy Burnham is potentially set to take the seat.
He's not even got no one there voting for him, so it's a lie. Shut up, you fucking lying bitch.
I mean, things to say is very early on.
You are a disgrace now.
There's a whole plethora of ways of looking. The great thing about this poll is it shows everything everybody wants to see unless you're a Green or Lib Dem voter. Because if you're a Labour voter, you'll think, or if you're an Andy Burnham supporter, because we're supposed to separate
I'm not Andy Burnham supporter, the original.
They're exactly the same thing, and you're just going to get pissed off with a northern accent, by the way. But if you're Andy Burnham supporter, you can look at that and go, thank God, it looks like we've still got strong Labour support in the area. If you look at it as reform, you can go, look, we need to up our game slightly. It's great, we're close because Restore, we're close behind. Restore can look at it and go, oh wow, aren't we doing great, 7%? We were on a little chat off there, and I was saying, actually, if you add up the Greens and Lib Dems, it's about 7% also. So on the left and the right, if you're talking about a split, I'm not
wouldn't have been the Greens at all, would it?
100% convinced by this just yet. But if you're talking about a split, the split's pretty even. If all the Greens and Lib Dems went to Labour, then Labour would be fine. If all the right voters, Tories and Restorers went to Reform, then Reform would be fine. But ultimately, there is only one change candidate in all of that, and that is
dirty fucking deal.
There is no other change candidate in there. Andy Burnham is exactly the same. Reform are offering change. You don't have to look at the videos to see
and the glasses and all that,
that's proven out, because Andy Burnham's wandering around talking an accent like he's in Oasis and pretending to be a man.
No, well, I don't give a fuck, right?
Yeah, exactly.
At least when Rupert Low gets a donation, which won't be a back deal dodge donation.
Yeah, literally, and talking
it'll be
about
one person.
The thing is, politically though, we know that this is a sort of
election
that represents a far larger
for exactly what it's for, exactly what it's going to be used for,
because the general election.
This person is going to give his money if it's not going to be used for the correct things.
And Reform, if they go head to
of
head
what
in a
they're
national
saying.
battle. And so everyone's taking data from this
for
with
the people of the country.
A significant amount of intrigue. And what I don't understand, like
and
you said,
to get
having been in politics for 2 decades,
obviously they're going to have to get their own talk, they have to get these off here now.
Have we been in a situation where the Keystone of the Town do not go to the Labour Party, do not go to the Conservative Party, but actually go to somebody who for a long time has campaigned on all the issues that everybody is so upset about, whether it's net zero, the authentic originator of those arguments. He said them before, the Conservatives or the Conservatives were mugging everyone up under Boris Johnson and Sunak and all the rest of it, and saying things and doing the opposite. He's taken flat throughout his life for standing up for those things. And he was the one who moved debate in that direction, has been proven correct. And finally, we've got to a situation that this populist wave that's been hitting the whole of Europe, and the establishment's done everything they can to stop it, everything. You look at what went on in France, you look at what's gone on in the Netherlands, you look anywhere that the establishment have tried everything they can to stop the public getting their own way. And we're on the cusp of getting it.
No,
and that pops the biggest ego the world has ever seen. I don't know. I just think it's, I can't fathom the stupidity sometimes of this situation. But, everyone's entitled to stand, everyone's entitled to vote who they want to vote for.
Stop criticising Rupert Low then.
Strange that a nation
it's not strange,
to get what they've always wanted will sabotage themselves. I just don't understand the psychology.
No, I think we can take the poll with a pinch of salt. I don't think it's going to tell us anything just yet. I think there's no surprises in there. I'm not actually surprised by the Restore percentage in that.
Better than the rest of us will. I think she's better than everybody else. Do you think she's better than other people? Better than anyone.
There's a great online game. I'm not surprised that figure's represented. Look, the thing to remember here is everybody who's on the right is standing on the shoulder of one giant.
Yeah, I'm standing on Rupert Low's side.
You can look at Reform as a Restore voter and tell me
more people there for Rupert Low than this for Nigel.
The Uni Party and they would be left wing if they weren't being held to account by
demographics is a lie.
That view. But the
shut up, I don't know where you got shit from. Andy Burnham's got no one voting for him, you fucking liar.
Is because
how can Andy Burnham be? No one fucking cares.
But there has to be an acknowledgement
No
of
one
that.
gives
So
a fuck
if
about
you are not
fucking Labour
partisan
anymore, so
and
how
all
can
you
they
want
be
is
at the top?
change, and you like the popular right, then there is
The
only one
Muslims
vote for change.
don't want
There is
fucking
no
nine.
two
No,
votes
hang
for
on a minute
change.
here.
Nobody owns the
I was going to
votes.
say, no
It's
one
not
owns it
about
all.
personality.
No one likes
It's about
fucking Keir
do you
Starmer.
want
No one
change?
likes Nigel
And
Farage.
the only way we can get a change
The Muslims don't
is
like
to vote
Nigel
for
Farage and they
Storm
don't
and
like
Wakefield.
Keir
I mean,
Starmer.
I've been across everything going on for
Right,
a number of years now. I
not
know things that
agree
happened
with
in
Rupert
2019
Low,
when I was a
but doesn't
Brexit
mean
Party
he don't-
MEP,
he hates
and Rupert
him
Low
like
was a
he
Brexit
fucking hates
Party
Nigel
MEP. I know a lot of
Keir
stuff
Starmer.
that people frankly have
So
no
you might
idea
not
about.
like it for Rupert
And I
Low,
feel
but
very
don't have to hate him
constrained
like
as
they
to what I
hate
can actually say.
Nigel Farage and Keir
But I
Starmer.
just hope eventually
They hate
that
Keir
the
Starmer,
truth
it's the Labour
will
Party now, that's it.
People say, why are you saying it? Why don't you just say it? Because things aren't that easy,
No,
right? When you're an
not
exposed
when you're like
person who's just sitting in a studio and I say certain things, the two entities that will come after me with their multi-millionaires, they will come after me with all the lawyers under the sun, and little old me is David versus Goliath. I can't.
No.
I can't. It's horrible. It's a horrible situation to be in when you feel like you've been sort of bullied into silence because of threats. But you know, like I said, I trust the British people, and I trust I trust expertise and the machinations of politics, and people learning from history that things will end up going in the right direction. Secrets don't stay secrets for long in politics.
No, I think that's very important. It will only be a matter of time. The other thing, of course, is should Andy Burnham win this,
about the fucking what he's about.
it's not a fait accompli he becomes Prime Minister, by the way. I think right now the polling is 50-50 for Burnham versus Starmer. Should Starmer stand? Okay, and I think because there is such significant support within the Labour Party for Keir Starmer still, remarkably, that there is still an opportunity for him to stay in power. This doesn't mean, I think the biggest risk here is taken by Andy Burnham, and it's hubris and it's arrogance, because he could at the end of this just become, and by the way, make a film and feel sorry for you.
I've never voted in my fucking life.
Put up on here,
This will
but
be
he
my
could
first
just become
vote.
the MP
I
for
vote
make a
for
film
any
and
politician,
nothing else.
anybody in my life.
The
First vote would be a
Melton
good
Manchester
vote.
could go to reform. Andy Burnham might not become leader, and eventually will still become
I don't care. Why has he not
nothing's
said this
achieved
about this money
other than to
before?
expose his hubris.
Why is he not
I mean,
using this money
this
for
is
the
the thing.
Green
What
scandal?
I'm seeing as someone who's been in politics
Or
all
part
my life,
of it for that.
this is a
You could have used
by-election.
part
All
of
the
it.
establishment tactics are being laid
Might not have
bare.
used it all.
You've
They
got
could have
Sue
used
Gray back,
say,
who's now
2 million.
advising Andy
Down
Burnham
towards
as
that,
most
which is
establishment
what
figure
you
you'll
do
ever
their
find. Sue
advertisements
Gray's
and-
been in
You know,
high offices
and obviously
for
they'll make
Blue
money on the
and Red.
advertisements
She's
and
back,
everything
which
else.
means that the powers that be have decided, right, this is what we need to do. We need to get Burnham in. Starmer's not getting it right. And then we're back in control.
No, we
and
don't.
Like
We
I
need
said,
to. No,
the
you keep
spoiler
talking about
here
Andy
is
Burnham.
also
No one else.
deeply
We're not talking about Andy
connected
Burnham.
to that same
We're
muscular
not talking about Andy Burnham.
force.
Restore, not talking about
you know,
that.
like I've seen it
They're
happen
talking
in
about
so many countries
Restore
in Europe
Britain.
where people are so close to getting what they want, and all of a sudden the wrecking ball comes in because they have great tactics. They know what they're doing. They have the ability to spend millions of pounds on cyber games, all these things, and it's just so frustrating when you see that again and again and again in this country, in other countries around Europe, in the Western world, again and
He
again,
lied.
the same
He lied.
tactics,
Dodgy
the same
deals. Come on.
tools, the same plots.
You got that one. It's the same plot
sort
to
of,
shut him up from the
avatars,
Green and
so to speak.
scandal.
The same
Yep,
sort of
same plot.
puppets
You're
and
saying it.
puppeteers are all playing out
Yeah, you
as
are.
the system intends to do. And
Yeah,
make a
well,
film
Rupert
with
Low
all of this
isn't.
stuff writ
You've
large.
just said it about
And
reform
this
and
is why
Nigel
it's so
Farage.
important and so significant to see what happens there, because this
Well, you
is
just said it,
basically an
so now you're
indication.
right.
This is the litmus test
This is
of
what you're
what the
doing. This is
future
what
of the
you're doing.
UK is going to be.
Well, we won't be doing that anymore
but,
when Rupert
you
Low
know,
gets in, love. We won't be messing.
we're passengers.
Rupert
Yeah,
Low
well,
was
the
the best
biggest
of
killer here, by the way, particularly if you're
passengers.
listening to this and you're
Anybody
is
that's
apathy.
going for
People are much more engaged with politics now, and I was asked by Kevin O'Sullivan who I think would win on Friday, and I said Andy Burnham will sneak it just because I think people are still still
keep going on about him now.
tricked by the slickery that you talked about. But I'm saying that hoping the opposite is true, because the more and more people get engaged, particularly on the right, and the normal people get engaged, and the less apathy there is. Because apathy means Labour win. Apathy means people don't bother to vote, and you just get your staunch Labour voter turning up and saying this area has to stay red. If we can just get rid of apathy and engage people through, programs like yours, and just get people, call in obviously, but...
The other thing that just breaks my heart is the political parties, particularly the establishment political parties, are more obsessed with their own existence, more obsessed with the cause of their own rosette than they are the future of the country. They would rather become tribal about their party and their brand, rather than just look at the blinning polling, look at the statistics, look at the policies on offer and go, this is the cleanest, easiest, best route to where we need to end up. This is what the country needs. This is the right medicine to prescribe. And they just play games. This is why our politics is broken. This is why we're in a mess. The constant revolving door of prime ministers without any democratic recourse, quite frankly, because the only people who get to decide whether Andy Burnham becomes our prime minister constituents of Liberty, and the rest of us don't have a say in that. We don't have any sort of, we don't even get to choose whether this stupid leadership contest goes on or not. This is what the Conservatives did. It's constant messing about parlour games instead of making policy and doing what's right for the country. And this venal,
she used to be alright, but she's getting a bit
vile game playing that goes on and on and on every single time, because there's a lot of people running around feeling full of themselves. Got a cunning plan. Oh, look at all the WhatsApp messages. Oh, which faction are you in? Oh, I'm in this faction, but I'm more than that faction.
I don't do all that, love. You do that, I don't.
Thinking there is like a dramatisation of the West Wing or Rome Burns.
Yeah.
And I'm fed up with it.
It's
I'm fed up with Donald Trump. I'm angry as anything this morning, because all of these people who are doing it for their egos and their sense of self-importance and their 5 minutes of fame or their feeling powerful, ha, my little plot works.
Because the only one that's doing that is you.
People who
take
sit
a
there
look
getting
in the
a kick
mirror on the fucking wall, because that's you, love.
Manipulating, gaslighting.
You're manipulating and gaslighting
all of these people are the reason why this country is heading down a sinkhole.
And talk TV think they're better than not gaslighting people.
Talk about what the country needs, work together to get the right person into power, and then actually deliver. Because the might of what any party is going to face, unless it's basically the Labour Party, the might of what any right-wing party is going to face, who ends up in number 10, cannot be underestimated. Civil service strikes. The Supreme Court will become suddenly litigious about everything. The House of Lords will try and block everything. The EU will be waiting in the UN. You name it. They will all be colluding. They'll all be colluding to try and stop us getting what we want, that we are so desperate for. And instead of people keeping their eyes on the prize, thinking this is literally Sisyphus trying to push water up a hill, they're getting dragged into these stupid games. They're someone else's games. And I'm just fed up with it. I'm fed up because I know we're at the 11th hour. I know we don't have much opportunity left to do what we need to do in this country. To turn the oil tank around and send it going in the right direction. This isn't funny anymore. This is my future. This is your future. This is your kids' futures. This is everyone's futures. Can we all just get serious, please?
No, you're not serious.
Every party. The nonsense going on. Plots in checkers. Ed Miliband pulling the strings of check. How about rather than pulling puppety strings, you sort out this net zero nonsense, which has completely incapacitated and deindustrialised the country. How about Burnham? You get back to making sure there aren't people sleeping on the streets in Manchester. How about all of you? How about the Tories? You just figure out how to put together a good manifesto rather than using other people as your little operatives. Just everybody. Just get on with doing the job of running a country and take the nonsense politics out of it. We're exhausted by it now. We have been abused, we've been ignored, we have been collateral damage for a handful of egos who get a thrill and a kick out of playing these idiotic games, and I'm done with it.
And he's had that money.
And if as a result we end up with 5 million pounds, 10 more years of socialist government, the open borders, the madness of a lack of a sensible energy policy, all of these things, we'll all be gone.
Come
We'll all
on.
blooming get on aeroplanes and just go.
Yeah.
And that ends
We're
2,000 years of history, of civilization. This isn't funny. I am so exercised.
I'm not saying he don't deserve it. Good for him. No, I'm not saying he don't deserve it. To be on a good wage. I'm not saying that, but he's on
looking at the
some good money.
situation, if you're British,
And he got that
if you're
money,
patriotic,
why?
and accept it
Well,
at all, the critical
well,
mass,
they
the equilibrium has gone. Just look at the pictures from yesterday. People coming on the beach at Dover. Hundreds and hundreds of more people breaking into the country. Nobody in power stopping it across the channel or on this side.
It's only going to be Rupert Low that's going to do that.
We're being invaded on an industrial scale. It is colonisation.
And he's not getting a dodgy
It doesn't matter if it makes you feel squeamish, or if you think the word racist is the worst word you've ever heard, that he called it as the worst crime.
I'll give you £5-10 million if you shut your gob.
Change.
Don't
Okay?
do
So
the inquiry,
the only
hush
way
puppy
you can
money.
change is look at the one man
money in Nigel
who has
Farage, that's why he's
politics
not
of
done the
conviction
inquiry.
amongst them all, who stood by that conviction for 30 odd years. He was, a single, a single topic politician for very many years. He got that over, and then it was destroyed. He never got what he asked for, really, in Brexit.
What we asked for.
Maybe got it in
What we
stages.
asked for. And we're in danger of the same thing happening again. Everything's getting diluted because of egos. You might look at Nigel Farage and say he's the biggest ego amongst all of them. I can't actually blame Nigel Farage for
they've not
coming
done
across the way he does
inquiries,
now, because if I'd been in his position for so long,
because if
and
Nigel Farage stuck to doing, he said he was going to do an inquiry, he started an inquiry. When they went into that Parliament thing, then Labour would have had no choice but to do a national inquiry. But because Nigel Farage backed down and didn't do it, a coward, he's got money off us, putting money off someone.
Full of egomaniacs who play games of politics, but there are still a lot of people in politics of all parties, of all rosettes, of all ideologies, who are in it. They believe in what they want the country to be doing and where they want the country to be going. And we have disagreements on that journey. All of us do. We think that this person might be better than that person, or this, that particular form of politics is better than this form of politics. But my big argument is, so everyone, you're entitled to vote for who you want to. I'm not going to tell you who that should be. My argument is, can we just do that? Can we stick to the politics rather than keep playing the man, not the ball? Because that's what keeps going on here. And I'm fed up of it. Constantly, litany of changing prime ministers, political games, plots, coups. It's wasting our time, and time is what we don't have. Yeah. On that note, it's time for an output break. Hey! I promise you when I come back, I'm going to try and cheer myself up a bit. Well, I've got Paul Cox here.
Because you chat, you not spoke about fucking Nigel.
Prevent him from losing that incredible voice. And let's do some messages, then some breaking news, then we'll carry on. So
let's just get on with that. Breaking news first.
On the voice of truth.
Oh, look.
No, not like that, Caroline. I mean like the dots. What, like...
Oh, fuck.
No, what do you mean?
Ask with her anymore. I've had enough of her. Getting my nerves. What was getting my nerves?
This man. As a people, one thing we need
what have you said on start TV and going on?
And we thought we found that in a particular political individual.
Yeah.
And that camp has split into two very distinct areas. I'm make no bones about saying I'm in one area where I'm not impressed, and there are other people in another area who are impressed. Well, let's put them aside.
What's this reform?
And let's bring Restore.
I was going to say, what's this about reform? What, you're not impressed about?
Now,
see?
One important thing about Restore.
Yeah, but you're going to be impressed with Restore.
Is Rupert Low.
I was going to say, mate, you're going to be impressed with Rupert Low all the way. I can't wait for him to say, I can't wait for him to win this in Mayfair. Because it's going to prove a lot of things up here to people. It really will.
Now, the problem.
It will.
Like any political organisation, is the back office
he'll go to the lengths of what he can do until he's in Parliament. And I know Rupert will go over the lengths.
Leaked out with that
in
regard
what he
to
can
the,
do.
to the population.
He'll
as a
go
whole.
over lengths.
All
I know
of
it.
these
This is the person what
need
will
to
go
be
over
ever
the
so,
things,
so
mate.
tight
He goes. He
and
finds a way
consistent with the
to.
message
I was going to say he finds a way
because
to
if it
let the
isn't,
grooming gangs.
people
He
pick
found a
holes
way
in
to
it all day
slip
long.
them up.
But the main
He's done
person
with what he's
is
saying.
Rupert Low.
I was going to say,
and
mate.
he makes an awful lot of sense. Now, there's this here.
And I'm
honestly,
right by his
how
side
can
of
people
him
watch and
all the way
listen
with
to
this.
Rupert Low
I don't want
and still
90
think
He's a
Farage is
liar,
the man
mate.
to save the country? Give your heads a waddle.
I've been
Only
watching
one man
talk
for the job. Now, I saw Farage put a tweet out where he was trying to, you know, maintain that Restore Britain were only going to get 7%.
Yeah.
And there was a 2% difference between the Labour and Reform in Labour's favour. So what they're trying to imply is that Restore will split the vote. There's no such thing as for split the vote. It's literally a communist fallacy. It's a fake misnomer that's made you play the game for all these years.
Yeah.
You need to wake up the large percentage of people that aren't voting. It's simple as that. Now, have a listen to this speech. I mean, this is, you know, if you don't get behind this, what are you going to get behind?
I'm getting behind it.
And I just want to say this isn't about me. I've got Rebecca Shepherd here, who's actually very brave and is standing in as your prospective parliamentary candidate in this fight. So I just want to say a few words about Rebecca, because you're incredibly lucky and she's incredibly brave.